Hello learners, welcome back to the course of Environmental Economics. Today we will be starting a new concept of environmental valuation. Previously we have been talking about the types of sustainability rules, we have talked about the problem of market failure, we have talked about externalities, we have talked about public policy which is taken into action in order to solve the problem of externalities. Today we will be starting with a new topic altogether, which is called as environmental valuation. This lecture will give you introduction to this topic of environmental valuation. Then we will explain how do we classify the value of the environment, that is what is use value and what is non-use value. Then we will also understand that what are the limitations of the concept of environmental valuation. Before going deeper into this topic, let us just understand the background of environmental valuation. We know when we talked about the type of public goods, we had said that environmental goods are typically open access resources or common property resources. We have already done in detail about common property resources. We have talked about tragedy of commons. We have seen that how externalities happen and that how under overproduction of something happens or because it is a common property resource. So environmental goods are common property resources generally. We know the features of a common property resource, that they are rival like private goods, but they are non-excludable like public goods. That is, you cannot exclude someone from using it, but if someone is using that, it reduces the stock of that particular product or for that of that environmental good and service for the rest of them. For example, we have talked about overfishing. That is, you can't stop someone from fishing, but if many people come and start fishing, it will reduce the available stock of fishes. Also, unlike other commodities, the value of nature is not reflected, represented or quantified through the price system. Unlike, for example, a private good, if you want to buy a pizza, market price is associated with it. It is very easy to find the price of that pizza. But in case of environmental goods, the value, price is what we are paying, value is the satisfaction also when we talk about deriving from it. So the value of nature does not get reflected in the price system. It is neither quantified also, and it becomes very difficult to quantify also. For example, we do not pay for the air we breathe, and there is no market price for consuming clean air. Nobody can stop you from consuming free air, and nobody is can ask you for a price for breathing or consuming this clean air. So this lack of pricing for the natural environment is, we have talked, is a very big reason for the cause of environmental degradation, because there is lack of pricing. And that is because humans judge natural resources to be free. They have an incentive to overexploit them because we think that it is freely available. So there is a human behavior to overexploit them. So therefore, to assess and implement any environmental policy, economic valuation of likely environment damage is critical. That is, if we want to have any type of a policy, then we need to know that what is the value of that environmental resource and what is the damage because of a certain activity, then only the policy can be implemented. So how did this origin of economic valuation of environment come into picture? We have seen that there was no concept of valuing the environment. If someone comes and asks me that what monetary value will you place to clean air which you breathe? It is very difficult for all of us to immediately give a monetary value to clean air. Right? What is the value which you associate to the garden which is near your house? So it becomes very difficult for a layman to immediately quantify the monetary value of having a public garden. But it is very important to know the valuation of that public garden, because if you want to have something else, let's say they want to have a mall instead of that public garden, we need to first put the value which the people were getting from the use of that public garden. So economic valuation is a very important concept, and this concept can be traced to the paper of John Cruchila in 1967. The paper was titled Conservation Reconsidered. It was published in the American Economic Review. And it is considered as a landmark in the history of environmental economics, because through this paper we started talking about that how we can value the environment. This paper, what did it do? It presented a method to quantify the intrinsic value, the built-in value, not what we see, but what it is inside. So the intrinsic value of ecological resources were quantified in this particular paper. How did they identify? They analyzed it by natural and the cultural resources of a natural park, of a national park. When you visit a national park, it not only has a natural resource, there are certain cultural resources also associated with that national park. And how did the values brought about? These values were expressed by the stakeholders. That is what value the people, the stakeholders of that national park put, that was central to this analysis. So what happened in this paper was, this paper said that let us put value to the national park which people are maybe visiting or may not be visiting, but all the stakeholders of that national park, they were asked to find a value, or they were asked to give a value for the natural and the cultural resources of that national park. Now, why is environmental valuation important? We have said that this the problem of price not being associated or price not getting tagged to the environmental goods and service is a major reason for so many environmental problems which we face, particularly environmental degradation. Why is environmental valuation important? Generally, what happens is that whenever we want to start any project, we do what we call as a cost-benefit analysis in economics or in finance. We do a cost-benefit analysis. The traditional cost-benefit analysis talks about that what is the cost I'm going to incur in setting up this particular project, and what are the expected benefits from this project. So both cost and benefit of that project are evaluated in terms of money, right? So, for example, a mining project, it may be classified highly efficient by the traditional cost methods, because we are going to say that this is the mining cost of, let us say, mining a particular mineral, and if so much mineral when we mine from it, we are going to sell it in the market, and this is the market price of that mineral. So you find that the cost of mining that mineral may be less than the money which you are going to receive by selling that mineral. So this may be a very economically feasible project. So traditional cost benefit analysis says that the mining project is very highly efficient. But if we take into consideration the environmental damaging effect of this project to the nearby forest ecosystem, the results will differ. Because in the traditional cost-benefit analysis, we have just seen that what is the direct cost of mining that. How much machine cost, what is the labor cost, what all costs I am incurring in mining that. But in this process, what is happening to the ecosystem, how it is getting damaged, if we try to value that, what may happen is that this project may become not feasible. So when the environmental damaging effects of this project are taken, the answers may be very different. So this will happen since these effects of the environmental damage were not factored in your standard cost-benefit analysis equation. So environmental valuation is basically helping us to find out the environmental impacts of through a monetary value, so that we can compare it with the financial returns. In the traditional cost benefit analysis, we were seeing that what is the monetary cost of setting up that mining project, what are the monetary returns I'm going to get from the project, and whether the returns are more than the cost, we will say the project is feasible. But once we get the environmental valuation into picture, we also understand that what are going to be the environmental impacts of that mining project. And when we attach the monetary value to those environmental damages to the forest ecosystem, then we can in monetary terms compare that what is the environmental valuation and what is the financial valuation of that project, and it will help us to compare it with the financial returns. So a project which was only judged efficient if the sum of its financial, economic, environmental benefits outweighs cost, then we will say that the project is efficient. So instead only on referring to financial and economic benefits, we are also adding in the environmental benefits. So combination of the benefits in terms of finance, in terms of economics, and in terms of environment, if these benefits are greater than the cost of this project, then we will say that this project is also feasible in terms of environment. If not, then we will say that if, for example, if the environmental costs are exceeding the economic and financial benefits, then the project is not considered feasible. So a project is considered feasible in terms of economic valuation only when its environmental costs are also less than the benefits. Okay, so if the environmental costs are more than the economic benefits, in terms of economic valuation, in terms of environmental valuation, we will be saying that this project is not feasible. Hence, economic valuation is a very important concept in understanding or various policy decisions whether to start a project or to not start a project. So this brings us to the concept of economic valuation. So we will start with total economic valuation. What is valuation, learners? Valuation can be simply defined as an attempt to put monetary values to environmental goods and services or natural resources. So whatever environmental goods we have, whatever natural resources we have, or whatever environmental services we are using, when we put a monetary value to it, that is called as an valuation. When we talk about total economic valuation or total economic value, it is calculated by taking into account the direct and the indirect value of the environmental goods and services. So total economic value will take into account direct plus the indirect value of all the environmental goods and services. We will go into detail that what is this direct and indirect value. The concept was popularized by David Pearce in 1992. Just a small heads up, remember we have already talked about David Pearce in the previous lectures. Can you let me know that which lectures we talked about David Pearce in? Now, let us classify the total economic value. Let's do the classification or categorization of this total economic value. The total economic value, we will be talking it in two aspects. One is called as a use value, other is called as a non-use value. What is use value? Use value is further divided into direct value, indirect value, and option value. Non-use value is again divided in three types: existence value, bequest value, and altruistic value. So, total economic value is equal to use value plus non-use value. Use value is again of three types. One is called as a direct use value, other is called as indirect use value, and third is called as option use value. Non-use value is also of three types: existence non-use value, bequest non-use value, and altruistic non-use value. Let us start with understanding what is use value. let's start with first direct use value. Direct use value refers to both consumptive and non-consumptive uses of any environmental good or service. They are connected with both our direct and indirect consumption utility. These are basically the material benefits which are provided by an ecosystem that are directly linked to the economic system and for which market values may exist. For example, timber. The timber which we get from the forest and we use it for making doors and windows of our houses, there is a direct value which is attached to that wood or timber which we are getting from the forest produce. So that is a material benefit which we are getting from the use of that ecosystem. It also involves some form of direct physical interaction with the resources and services of the ecosystem. So you have some interaction with the resource of the ecosystem, then only we get a direct use value. For example, hunting, direct consumption of, for example, collection of berries, mushrooms, herbs, plants are all consumptive use values. Okay, tribals are using their forest rights to collect, let us what we call as tendupatta. Okay, so when they collect these leaves and sell it in the market, there is a direct interaction with the ecosystem, there is a direct interaction with the environment, and they are going to sell this for the purpose of consumption. Whereas, for example, observing birds, bird watching, photography, ecotourism are all non-consumptive uses. Okay, because when you observe the birds, when you do photography of the environmental, some scenic beauty, or when you go for any ecotourism, you are not consuming that. You are consuming just by your experience. You're consuming through your eyes, you're consuming through your senses, but you're not physically consuming that. Therefore, they are called as non-consumptive uses. So direct use values are conceptually quite fairly straightforward, but not necessarily easily measurable. Okay. Then what are indirect use values? Indirect use values measures non-consumptive ecological and recreational uses of ecosystem. So when we are talking about, let us say, pollination done by the bees in the ecosystem, which plays a very important role, when you try to value that, it is an indirect use value, because through pollination, then we have the production of honey. So all those units which are into making honey, they get benefited by this pollination. So habitat for other species and other ecosystem service, sustaining food chains, they're all indirect use values. So these are what? These are basically the material benefits which are indirectly linked to the economic system and for which market values are more difficult to derive. It is very difficult to derive the value of pollination, but it is a very important activity in the environment which has a non-consumptive use or which has a positive impact on the ecosystem. Many times, indirect use values are classified as services. Then the third type of use value is the option value. What is option value? As the name indicates, you have an option. It is a value placed on having an option to use a resource in future directly or indirectly. So, I am placing a value for something which I may be using in future or I may not be using in future. Maybe I'm going to use it directly, maybe I'm going to use it indirectly, but I am placing a value for the option use. It is the price that individuals are willing to pay for conservation of element in view of its possible use in future. That is, okay, let me conserve this because maybe I'm going to use it later on. So the price which the individuals are willing to pay for conservation of element is what is called an option value. Please remember, it is not related to the current use, because if it is related to the current use, we will put it at your direct use value because you are using it in the present area. And it is used to measure the value attached to the future use because you want to conserve it because maybe today you are not going there, but tomorrow you may be going. So you want to conserve that resource. So for the future, I'm trying to conserve that resource because I may be going and using it in future. So the money which I'm willing to pay to conserve that resource for which I am maybe willing to use it in future is called as option value. For example, we are saying value of maintaining a river catchment for future irrigation needs or safeguarding a fish stock today. For example, you're saying, okay, today we have good irrigation facility, but tomorrow in future, if it doesn't rain properly, we need that river catchment for future irrigation needs. It's an option use value. So option use is related to potential but uncertain future resource use. So there is a potential to use it, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to use it in future or not. So it is the willingness to pay by the potential user for the possible use of natural environment in the future. So something which you are conserving for the future use is what you put in option use value. Now, since we have understood the use values, let us go to a more abstract concept which is called as a non-use value, but which play a very important role in environmental economic valuation. Non-use values refers to increase in individuals' willingness to pay for improving or preserving resources that they will never use. So I am willing to pay something to conserve a natural resource today, but I know that I'm never going to use it in future. That is called as a non-use value. So it refers to all values people hold that are not associated with the use of an ecosystem, good or services. So they are not going to use it. They are unlike option value where I'm keeping an option open, I may use it. But if I know in future I'm not going to use it, but I want to conserve it for the future generations, and for that I am willing to pay something, it is called as a non-use values. So non-use values need not arise from a direct service provided by an ecosystem. They may be coming from an indirect service also which is being provided by the ecosystem. So non-use values, again we repeat, refers to an increase in the individual's utility without actually using the good. So it makes me happy if, for example, I'm willing to pay something to conserve a few forest resource because it makes me happy to do that, because I know that maybe not me, but the future generations will need to enjoy that resource, then it is called as a non-use value. It is the valuation of the environmental asset that are unrelated to either current or the optional use. So we are also including optional use and of course current use is sacrifice. For example, many people donate to wildlife and other environmental charities without taking part in the direct use of wildlife through recreation. I may not be interested in going for a wildlife recreation, but still I want to conserve. I want to have, for example, there is a project or some NGO has started a project to conserve a particular endangered species, and that requires certain money, and I donate some money for the protection of that endangered species. I know I'm not given, maybe probably I'm never going to go in that wildlife park to have a look at that species, but it gives me some satisfaction that I've done something for the environment. That is called as a non-use value. Valuation, if we talk about, it is very easy for direct use value, difficult for indirect use values, and very, very difficult for non-use values, because it sometimes becomes very hypothetical situation where I'm getting associated to pay for something hypothetically. Now let us understand types of non-use values. The first type of non-use value is existence value. Existence value is the value from knowing that an environmental good exists and it is preserved, despite the fact that it may never be used or seen. So, just the value I'm placing for the goods to be in existence and it is going to be preserved makes me enough motivated to pay for it. It is called as existence value. For examples, individuals willing to pay to protect an endangered species of plants and animals because I want them to exist in the ecosystem is an existence value. But such value is very abstract, and it is called existence value of the environment. It is very abstract to place value on protection of an endangered species. So existence value is in addition to the actual or the potential use of that value. That particular species may be having certain actual use also, but I am not going to use that, but I am happy that it should remain in existence, and for that I am willing to pay. The next type of non-use value is the bequest value. Bequest value is the value derived from knowing that a resource is maintained for the future generation. Bequest, that is, I want to leave this particular resource for the future generation, and for that I am willing to pay. So people have a sense of obligation to preserve the environment for the future generation, and therefore the person may derive certain bequest value by passing a beautiful garden to the next generation. So I feel even if I'm not there, my next generation should be enjoying this beautiful garden. And in order to maintain this garden, I am willing to pay for this. That is called as a bequest value. So when you are leaving some environmental good to be enjoyed by the future generation and you are willing to pay for that, it is called as a bequest value. Then what we call as an altruistic value. What is altruism? Altruism is when we behave selflessly and when we value the welfare of the others. So when I give certain monetary value to the welfare which others are deriving from my action, it is called as altruism. So altruistic value is the value which is placed on preserving the resource so others can use it now, even when there is no planned or potential use for the person who is willing to pay. So unlike the bequest value, where we were willing to pay so that the future generations enjoy that environmental good. In altruistic value, we are saying that I am willing to preserve this resource so that others can use it now. Okay, and seeing them enjoying that, I am getting happy and I'm getting willing to pay for it. For example, willingness to pay on preserving a river so that others can swim in it, even though I have no intention of ever doing it. So even though I don't want to swim in that river, even though I don't know swimming, but just seeing people happy swimming in that clean river, and in order to keep that river clean, whatever money I am willing to spend or willing to pay will be called as altruistic value. So this is a few pictures which I have put for you, and you as learners identify different types of economic values which you can get from a wetland. So this is a wetland, and this wetland, what type of economic values you can get? Direct value, indirect value, use value, non-use value, what you can get, you please write it down. So this is just a reference wherein we have again put for a total economic value for wetland. We have put, for example, direct use value can be the fishing, can be the agriculture. Indirect use value can be nutrient nutrition. It can be the recharge of external ecosystem. It can be macroclimatic stabilization. Optional value can be potential future use which this wetland is going to give. Non-use values can be bequest value. Somebody else can come and enjoy this. My future generation can come and enjoy the wetland. Maybe the cultural heritage and biodiversity around this wetland. So these are the examples. And you from the picture can get more types of total economic values. Now, what are the limitations of economic valuation? The first is interdependence of ecosystem and their services. See, what happens is we are just putting value to one type of, for example, wetland. But there is a very close interconnection of the whole ecosystem. We are only valuing one aspect of it. We are not talking about what is the valuation to that particular creature which is dependent on this. So that interdependence is very difficult to evaluate. Also, it may encourage the adoption of weak sustainability. Remember, learners, we have talked about weak and strong sustainability. Just give it a thought. What was the difference between strong and weak sustainability? So we are saying that economic valuation is adopting weak sustainability, because we are saying that it is okay to destroy a natural resource as long as we are compensating it with a human capital or a human-made resource or a man-made resource. So what we are doing is, when we are doing economic valuation, we are asking people that, okay, if we destroy this wetland and we get something else, for example, we destroy this public park and get a mall, how much are you willing to accept for this loss of welfare? So we are destroying a resource, environmental resource, for a man-made resource. And this is what is being encouraged in economic valuation. Then temporal issues arise in economic valuation, because value of environment can change over time. 50 years back, the value we placed on clean water and air is very different the value which we are going to place today on clean air and water. So there are a lot of temporal issues which lies in economic valuation. Not only temporal issues, but economic valuations also lead to spatial issues, because valuation can change across geographical locations, making it very challenging to generalize values from one area to another area. For example, valuation of type of wetland which we put on wetland in one area may be different from another area. The valuation which we put on clean air in one city may be different from the valuation in another city. So if we calculate valuation of one city, it does not mean we can generalize it to every area. So that is a special issue which comes into picture. So just let us revise what we have done. We have talked about two types of values of the environment. One is use value, other is non-use value. Use value we have said is direct, indirect and optional. Non-use value we have talked about bequeath value, altruistic and existence. We have said use values are those where economic value is derived from its direct or indirect consumption. For example, timber extracted from forest, and value not derived from the direct use or consumption. Just for example, the existence of something is there, makes me happy, is called as non-use value. So valuation of environment can be distinguished or classified basically into use and non-use values. Use values, again, I'll repeat, can be direct, can be indirect, or can be optional. Whereas non-use values can be bequest value, it can be altruistic value, or it can be existence value. So for example, timber extraction, fishing from rivers, water for irrigation, going for a recreation purpose for a national park, they're all the use values which we have of that environmental good or service. Whereas the happiness which it gives me that some environmental good is into existence, leaving the biodiversity conserved for the future generation, will be a non-use value. So value which I'm deriving from something, of an environment, of which maybe I'm not using it, but somebody else will use, and that gives me the willingness to pay, is called as non-use value. We will be talking about the types of the valuation methods in the subsequent lectures, but for that it is very important, learners, that you remember the concept of use and non-use values. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you very much.